welcome to Cozy Breakfast Club. Yay!
Big round of applause for yourself.
We see some regular faces and some new faces in the audience, and I hope we see some new faces out watching us on Facebook too.
I hope so, too.
Some new names. Some new names. Cozy Breakfast Club meets monthly. Usually it's on the third Saturday. This is the fourth Saturday because of, guess what?
Road
to California was last week and we couldn't do it. Even if we wanted to, there's just no way. So as being the first episode of the new semester, we're going to launch into brand new products. Project. No.
Yeah.
It's okay, it's fine. New things.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take over with the first one.
Okay.
I think you shall.
Shall I just do that?
We'll push you over here.
Okay.
And you go, girl.
Okay, well, I'm just actually going to get out of the way because we can show off the quilt.
Oh, okay, let's do that.
And that's going to be my whole presentation. Let's just let the quilt do the work. So the project I want to share with you today is called Bel Canto. And actually, we're calling it Bel Canto Coda, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. So we happen to have the finished quilt. I cannot guarantee we will always have this finished quilt. This is fabrics from Riley Blake Designs, and they are letting us borrow this quilt. I begged and pleaded, please, can I have it at least for the first session of Breakfast Club so that we can show it off. Somebody says it is local quilt shop day. So you guys are ahead of the game. What we are showing is Bel Canto Coda, which starts with 2.5-inch strips. So this is a 2.5-inch strip block of the month project. In addition to the 2.5-inch strips, there are 4 background fabrics in our quilt. You can also do it with 1 background fabric, and I'll tell you more about that in just a second. It looks complicated. It is not. It only looks complicated because there's a lot of different pieces. Each of those pieces we'll do once a month, make as many as we need, and then the final month we're going to put it all together. You can see, like this month we're going to do the plus block. The plus block is in the center of the quilt, and it's also is a couple other places like here, and then down here, and then equally on the quadrants. Did you see it? I feel like Vanna right now.
You are.
Flip right there. So this is going to be the plus block. So this is 1 month. Another month we'll do this block, as many as it takes for the quilt. Another month we'll do this block. This is how it's going to go until we have all of our blocks complete. It is a king size quilt, but don't worry. It's easier to put together than most king size quilts because I'm going to have you do a quadrant at a time. So from here over to here is a quadrant, and they're identical. There are 4 identical quadrants. We're going to sew the quadrant together, which you can think of as a small quilt. We're going to make 4 exactly the same. And then when we sew them together, we're going to add the column down the center and the row down the middle to put it all together.
And the vocabulary.
What?
The column and the row. Very good.
Oh, thank you. I'm using proper words today. All right, so you can see that it's not going to be too difficult to sew together. I know sometimes when you look at a king size quilt, you think you're going to have to you're going to lay out all of those pieces.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to bring them to your sewing machine, sew the row, make sure you get it right, and then sew the next row, and then sew those 2 together. It's going to be easier than that. We're going to break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces.
Nice.
Sound exciting?
One size, right?
The one size, it's the king size, 110 by 110. Oh, and then there's borders. And it does start with 2.5-inch strips. So if you are going to do this project, you need to collect 2.5-inch strips. Let's talk about the details of this quilt. So first I'm going to give you a great intro. Are you fixing Winter over there?
Yeah.
You just don't like it? She's fluffing. All right. I have put some slides together for you. So first is fabric requirements. You will need 91 strips. 91 2.5-inch strips. It can come from a jelly roll, a bally pop. It can come from your scraps. 91 strips means 3 jelly rolls of 40. So if you're buying a jelly roll, you're going to want to have 3 jelly rolls of 40 strips, or whatever the math is, 5 jelly rolls of 20. So just collect your 91 strips. Let's talk about strips for a second. And the quilt that we have behind me, do you mind? There's a lot of it's a lot of blues and then some background fabrics. the blues, the strips, don't have a lot of color that matches the background. So I highly recommend that you avoid strips that are going to be the same, that have the same color as your background fabric, because then it'll look like you have holes in your quilt. What I mean by that is if this strip here, if this strip here had a lot of dots or designs that had the same color as here, it would look like there's holes in that piece. So I would avoid using strips that have a lot of fabric similar to your backgrounds. I say that specifically because some jelly rolls have all of the values in them, and many of them are lights. Those lights, if you're going to use a light background fabric, you should put aside for another project and only focus on the darker ones that continue to have good contrast with your background. So now we can
need to get 4 jelly rolls.
So you might need to get 4 jelly rolls. But you know, 3 jelly rolls, 3 times 40 is what, 120? And you need 91 strips, so you do have some play in your jelly rolls. Let's go back to the fabric requirements. In addition, we have in this quilt 4 background fabrics, an A, a B, a C, and a D. And then we have the border 1, we have a star in border 2, and border 2. So it's not that many fabrics to purchase. Also helpfully will be the strip tube ruler, and we will talk about that in the next few blocks, not in today's block. Today is all about intro and that first block. All right, so I have this. This is a fabric key, so this is right out of the pattern, but on this graphic, you can see the fabrics we used in our quilt. So those fabrics are not in the pattern. If you're interested in getting the fabric key that includes the fabrics we're using in our quilt, you can download that on our website, and I'll tell you more about that in a second. What I've done is popped in the fabrics we're using for fabric A, background A, B, C, and D. This gives you a good visual. And I know when you're going to pick your own fabrics, you would like to know where those fabrics will be placed. So I've worked on that for you. Okay, here's the overall layout. Good graphic, she says. Yes. You can see now all of the different placements. These are the same colors in, that we will use in the graphics in the pattern. Now next. Okay, this is the beautiful quilt. This is the photographer's picture. Sweet Nancy already said to me today, it looks so much better in person.
Yes.
And instead of saying thank you, I said, I know. I wish everybody could see it in person. I wish you could. Oh, wait, you're going too fast. All right, so this is the beautiful quilt we're working on. Okay, now you can go to the next slide. All right, this was the original. Originally, this pattern was written as 7 different standalone patterns. Each one came with the step you need to make the block of the month, plus a bonus quilt. Or, rephrased, it came with a quilt and the bonus steps for the block of the month. But you had to buy 7 separate patterns. In the end, you got 8 different quilts. I have consolidated all of that now into one pattern, and that's why we call it Bel Canto Coda. Bel Canto Coda only has 7 steps to complete this one quilt. It's synthesized, much easier to read. So if you're interested in doing this project, or if the previous one was a little daunting, you want to buy Bel Canto Coda. I'm not going to give you all of the instructions and all of the details here during this presentation. You have to buy the pattern to do this, so that's what you want. Bel Canto Coda. Now Coda, Bel Canto is a musical term. Coda is the resolution of a song. I hope I'm correct. I looked, yes, okay, good. I thought it was fitting because this is the resolution of this project. One pattern, one quilt. So this beautiful quilt here was the original one that we did, step by step. You can do this sort of quilt or the one we have behind us with this same Bel Canto Coda pattern. So here's a better look at background A. You can see with the yellow highlights, this is where you will see background A. Background B. So background B probably is your most used background. Okay, C. Just little pops of color here and there. And in our fabrics, some of them, there's not a lot of difference between them. It's just a very subtle difference. And it's to create a blended, scrappier look for the quilt. And then background D, just in 4 little places. Background D. So I think this is very helpful if you're picking your own fabrics. If you'd like to use the fabrics that we have here, they are Riley Blake design fabrics. You can ask your local quilt shop, or you can buy the kit from us. And I'll give you the website here in a second. But if you are picking your own fabrics, I think that is very helpful. Here is our Christmas one that uses one background. So now one background gives it a more defined look. We did this in Christmas, and these were jelly rolls. You can see here a little bit about what I'm talking about. Some of the strips have a little bit of white speckle in them, and it kind of gives it a lacy look. It doesn't look like it has holes in it, because it's just here and there, and there's only one background. I believe we have this quilt here in person.
Yes, we do.
Staples holiday deals are